All right, so welcome everyone. My name is Priya and welcome to our second webinar hosted by Abhyas. Today's webinar is called Facing Challenges as Is. And I'd just like to introduce a little bit about our theme today. So today, our webinar is designed to bring a community together of like-minded individuals to expand their awareness of topics that are set by Abhyas. These webinars are not designed, however, to provide any solutions to participants. So facing challenges as is our very interesting topic today. And it is all about taking these challenges as an opportunity for our growth and for our transformation. And so I'm very excited for this topic today. So I just want to share a little bit about Abhyas. So vision of Abhyas is through the application of experiential knowledge. Abhyas envisions a paradigm shift in society's perspective, equipping it with the ability to face the challenge as is. Abhyas's mission is that Abhyas is committed to equip the individuals with equal opportunities by providing professional training to impart the courses on mental well-being, creating a better future for themselves and humanity at large. And of course, we have a very, very important quote that we like to start all of our webinars with, which is that all transformations have one thing in common: the turnaround in the perspective on what they have been through. So just a little bit of housekeeping for those of you who are new to the Zoom platform. We have someone here within our institute who will be monitoring our chat. So throughout our webinar, if you have any questions or comments, please pop them in the chat at any point. And of course, we will be answering as many of those questions as we can. I, of course, want to also just mention for our lovely panel members, we have 3 panel members here today, and they will be sharing some of their offerings as well during the panel discussion. My only request is to just allow about a minute or 2 just to give everyone the opportunity to share. So with that, I'm going to now talk a little bit about our lovely panel members and introduce them in some detail as well. So our first panel member today is Yaroni Wilken. Welcome, Yaroni. Yaroni is a transformational coach and conscious leader who helps individuals reconnect with their unique energetic signature. She believes true empowerment comes from transcending self-imposed limitations, integrating mind, body, and soul to live aligned with the authentic self. With over 10,000 hours of coaching, Yaroni continues to inspire conscious leaders, entrepreneurs, and young professionals worldwide to awaken their potential, develop resilience, master self, and create holistic success in an ever-evolving world. Very nice, Yaroni. Looking forward to learning some more about you today. Our second speaker for today is Alla Kozireva. Alla's leadership well-being journey is highlighted by her role at Abhyas, where she conducts conscious leadership courses for organizational leaders, focusing on gaining clarity, stress management, and emotional resilience. She also provides one-on-one conscious practices and counseling, aiding leaders in cultivating a healthier work environment. Additionally, Alla designs and facilitates awareness sessions, corporate training materials, and train the trainer courses, promoting leadership development in diverse settings. Welcome, Alla. And our third lovely speaker for today is Leena Patel. Leena Patel is a wellness practitioner and mentor who empowers CEOs, business owners, and professionals to achieve balance and resilience through restorative sleep, yoga, and holistic practices. A purpose-driven wellness advocate, she combines mindfulness, yoga, and compassionate guidance to help her students navigate the demands of leadership while prioritizing self-care. With a passion for fostering transformative wellness, she freely shares her expertise through resources like Sleep Easy, inspiring her community to embrace health, vitality, and success in every aspect of life, stress-free. Welcome, Lena. So just before we get into the very exciting panel discussion for today, I have 2 questions for our participants. The first question, and please feel free to use the chat for this, is in one word. What is one word that you believe best describes how you deal with challenges? So just go ahead and pop your responses into the chat. Happy to repeat that question again for any new latecomers. What is one word that best describes how you deal with challenges? We'll just give it about a minute. So just popping in your responses in the chat in the Zoom call. All right. So we'll move on to the next question, which is, yeah, great. Thank you, Daniela. Methodically. Excellent. Excellent. Keep those answers coming through. Keep your questions coming through and any comments you have as well. As I mentioned, we do have someone moderating our chat today, and I really want to use this opportunity to keep this webinar really engaging. Wonderful. I'm seeing another really good response coming up. Reflect, being peaceful. Yeah, exactly. Very good. Going to ask the second question now from our lovely participants, which is, in one word, what is your biggest challenge right now? So I'll repeat the question again. In one word, what is your biggest challenge right now? Thank you. I'm getting some answers coming through, such as confidence. Excellent. We'll just give it another 30 seconds. Thank you, Rabina. Thank you, Harsha. Uncertainty. Yes. All right. Wonderful. So now we're going to move towards our panel discussion. So we have about 30 minutes for this panel discussion. And I'm going to be asking our lovely panel members 3 questions. So when I ask the first question, I'd like each panel member to please contribute your perspective towards that question. And then I will move on to the next question, followed by the next. Okay, so our first question for today is, what are the repercussions of merely coping with challenges? So I'll hand over to you, Yaroni, and I'm just going to repeat the question one more time, which is, what are the repercussions of merely coping with challenges? Thanks, Yaroni. Over to you.
Thank you, Priya, and to everyone here in Abhyas. Really appreciate the opportunity. For me, probably the biggest thing that comes out of just coping with challenges is the fact that it can really be a big drain on our energy, which often renders us unable to see the opportunities that are available. It is often that we go back into coping strategies, rather deal with the status quo and dealing with it or not dealing with a situation, which drains our energy a lot because we're avoiding evolving through or moving through anything that could potentially be a growth opportunity because we're nervous of what that might look like. Often it means we have to make changes, and that means personal responsibility taking. So yeah, reacting also rather than responding healthily and wholesomely. And all of these things affect our ability to show up, draining our energy. and being unable to make decisions that are wholesome for us.
Yeah, absolutely, Yaroni. That's a really good point. Yeah, I absolutely agree that it's so difficult when we face challenges. We get really caught up in those challenges bringing about uncertainty, and we miss those opportunities. So that's very well said. Yeah, thank you for that, Yaroni. Over to you, Allah, please. The same question. What are the repercussions of merely coping with challenges? Thank you.
Thank you, Priya, and hello to everyone. I'm very happy to see all of you here. So when I think about coping with challenges, what comes to in mind is usually when the difficulties happen. So we all are dealing with these difficulties every day. They differ from person to person. What I find challenging, someone else may not find challenging at all. So our challenges are very unique to us. And it's very common in the world right now to merely cope instead of addressing the root cause of what it is exactly in me that is making me so perturbed and so uncomfortable, and you may use different words, stressed out, or making me feel disconcerted in this situation. So what we normally do is when we are in that state, and let's say a situation happens and let's say I'm reacting to the situation. And the first thing to do is to cope, right? So how do we cope is we try to soothe those emotions. So I might experience emotions such as fear, anxiety, anger, frustration, resentment, whatever it is. It might be like changing itself as well. And so these emotions are feeling very uncomfortable in my body. So I want to naturally feel better instantly. And so what we do, we try to find some kind of coping mechanism. So for different people, it would look differently. Someone might reach out for alcoholic drink just to soothe that emotion, to wash it down, what I'm experiencing. It could be watching something, some movie or some program, something just to distract me. Eating something that I'm not supposed to be eating, some sweets, some junk food or whatnot, right? And it continues. So how we cope, it's unique to each person. It could be different strategies we use. And so momentarily, temporarily, we're masking that, like we're washing it down. So for that specific moment, I might feel good. I'm fooling myself there a little bit because I think that now the problem is gone. But I have not really introspected within myself. I have not really taken time to be with whatever is happening and to process it in a right way. And so if I'm constantly in that coping, using those coping strategies, and they might be different, there will be repercussions of that. And that's how we see addictions happening nowadays. Addiction is a very common coping strategy for people. Because you reach out to something that will give you that temporary sense of pleasure, that temporary sense of comfort, but it's fleeting, it will go away. And then again, you have to face it. You have to face yourself. You have to face what is going on inside. So the repercussions are there. So addressing the root cause, of course, would be the way to go. And for that, we have to go into introspection. We have to start to ask ourselves questions, what it is in me that this particular situation is trying to show me about myself, that I'm feeling this way. And then work within, work internally. So internalizing these experiences and making shifts within ourselves. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Ella. Yes, I definitely agree. I mean, I think, being in a public service job where I used to be before joining Abhyas, which completely changed my life, if I'm being very honest, It was a great role, but we were constantly dealing with all sorts of challenges, whether it was sticking to tight deadlines, or whether it was reverting back to getting a piece of work ready or a project approved, whatever it might be. And I used to, on many occasions, just look around, look around my space, look around my environment, and I could see people were merely coping with these sorts of challenges. And things like they would go out for a cup of coffee 3-4 times a day, or would go for a smoke break, or would leave early, or would go shopping, or whatever it might be. So as Ala mentioned, and of course echoing what Yaroni was saying, that when we restrict ourselves, confound ourselves to just see that challenge as, oh my gosh, it's triggering something in me, I want to run away, I don't want to face this right now, I want to stay in my comfort zone, that's when we miss the opportunity. We miss the opportunity to see this challenge as a way for us to choose something new, to choose a new approach, to actually be able to make a decision that, yeah, sure, back then, that was how I dealt with it, but I don't want to deal with it in the same way anymore. And the fast-paced world that we live in, it's really important that we actually rise above from coping. So I'll just summarize there and hand over to Lena as well. Please, Lena, what do you feel are the repercussions of merely coping with challenges? Thank you.
Oh, hi, Priya. Thank you for having me this morning, or whatever time it is in Mauritius. I think coping is there is no strategy. It means we are in survival mode. And that means, like Ala said, and Yaroni said, we're just doing whatever we normally do. There is no strategy. And it's finding the right strategy that works for you. Meanwhile, when you're coping, you're either exhausted, you're feeling burnt out, you're just doing what you do automatically, and that might not be the right thing, which is going to lead to things like burnout, anxiety, physical health issue, meaning there's dis-ease in the body, meaning the body is not at ease, the mind is not at ease, and it's finding the right balance that is going to work for you. And I know from my own experience, anger was a very big thing. If I didn't have a strategy, that is the thing that I would do. I'd be shouting, expressing, and a lot of the time we're reacting and not responding to life. So that ability to respond. And I think when you do have some sort of strategy, it does give you the ability to respond to life in a way that works for you and manifest the things and the life that you want for yourself.
Absolutely, Lena. No, that's a really good point. I absolutely agree. And I guess that's why we see in a lot of workplaces that there is such an emphasis on mental health and well-being. It is really about us first becoming aware of ourselves, first becoming aware that we are going into autopilot. We are reaching for that chocolate drawer. We are reaching for that 5th cup of coffee. I myself was a coffee drinker, so hence I can have a little bit of a laugh at that. The number of times that I would reach for my 2nd or 3rd cup of coffee as a way to face that challenge, as a way to cope, as the way to be able to stay awake so that I can still keep moving ahead. Whereas instead, what I found is through my practices, through my deep practices here at Abhyas, I was actually able to move away from that coping stage into more of a stage of being aware, into more of a stage of facing the challenges. And of course, as my lovely panelists have pointed out, it is about facing what's going on within ourselves first. Because once we face what's going on within ourselves first, then we start moving away from autopilot and creating something new within ourselves. All right, lovely. So let's move on to our second question for today, which is, what should our approach be when faced with challenges? So handing over to Yaroni first, please. Thank you.
That is such a wonderful question, and we can really deep dive in that the first thing for me really to acknowledge is the fact that the only thing we ever have control over in life is ourselves, and that we're on this journey for ourselves and within ourselves, and life is merely a reflection of the things that we're being asked to bring back into balance. It's a way of claiming our power back, if you will, building that personal empowerment. And in order to do that, it is to shift away from potentially reacting to situations and starting to observe them in a new way. And we've so beautifully said here today, it is to do the inner work, self-reflection, and taking it a step further to say, surrendering the illusion that you are in control of the external environment. And when you start releasing that resistance within yourself to, I want to say, fight or approach the external world with fear or to challenge it head on, is to say, how else can I do this that is more empowering to me? And it is to observe the situation without attachment. See the challenge as a reflection of something that you can potentially learn from, bring back into balance, or learn to say no, have healthy boundaries, lean more into something that is your purpose and passion versus just doing a job, for instance. That's why you're having so much resistance at work, because it's not something you're actually passionate about. And then I want to say shifting into neutrality from that point of view. Don't take the challenge personally. Just learn from the experience and expand into it by looking at it broader. And instead of coping, like Allah also said, is ask the question, what is this challenge showing me? And then instead of confronting it, as you open your energy into it, is to ask, what higher purpose or perspective can I adopt here? Meaning really, how can I elevate my energy to approach this newly, to rather bring a solution to the table than just working with the status quo and staying within the bounds of the reality that you perceive it to be. And when we can let go of the resistance and we align within, it is to ask, so what state of being, who do I need to become, for instance, that will naturally move me beyond this, where natural solutions to the challenge that I perceive from a limited perspective, so to speak, I would start seeing other opportunities. And that to me is very important, to start redirecting our own energy, what we're giving energy to, what we're giving focus to, and rather start focusing on the things that will be supportive. And how do you start working with that instead of fighting the world, so to speak?
Beautifully said, Yaroni. Absolutely. Beautifully said. Yes, I think, I guess two things. One would be, you mentioned about autopilot, and definitely becoming more observant of when we are going into autopilot is a very, very powerful step in moving forward. And you said it beautifully that we all need to realize that the only thing we control is what is happening within ourselves. Nothing outside is in our control. And I'll say that again, that nothing outside is within our control. It is only what we have happening within ourselves that we can control. We have the option to choose to respond rather than to react. So absolutely beautifully said there, Yaroni. Thank you. So I'd like to hand over to Allah, please, to also contribute to the same question. What should our approach be when faced with challenges? Thank you.
Thank you, Priya. And Yaroni summarized it so beautifully that I almost have no words left, actually. Thank you. So I think one thing to understand that helped me also was that the challenges are there to help us. They are not there to destroy us. They're not there to to make us miserable. It's actually, the challenges come as blessings, you could say. They come as opportunities, as something to be grateful for. So approach, I would say, is just to change our perspective. If I can at least see that even though I'm in a situation right now that is extremely challenging for me personally, I might be going through lots and lots of hardships in my life that maybe not everybody is going through. But it is given to me for a reason. It has been given to me for a big reason. And the reason is that I need to become a higher version of myself. I need to evolve myself to a higher level where this, whatever is challenging me right now, will not become challenging anymore. So whatever it is, that situation that I right now find so disconcerting, if I can take myself through that process of inner transmutation, so I transmute within myself, I change my perspective on the situation, and something I can let go of within myself. So there's something in me that is sitting there, that specific situation is come on purpose, not randomly. It's not a coincidence that these things are happening, these events are happening. It's come for me uniquely designed so that I can see myself in a better way. I can see where and what I need to let go of. I need to see what it is I need to transmute within. And once that happens, the challenge is not a challenge anymore. So whatever was a challenge, now my perspective has changed. The feeling inside is not the same because it's changed. I transmuted those emotions that initially were difficult to feel. And now, because my perspective has changed and I was able to, you could say, pacify these emotions, now it's not challenging. It's normal now. It becomes normal. So then the new challenge comes in. And now again, I have to go through the same process. And then that's just like that. You just keep going, keep going, keep going. And just like that, we just keep evolving and keep becoming better and better each day with these challenges.
Thank you, Ala. Yes, beautifully said. I think there is definitely much to understand, really, and for me as well, much to reflect on, for all of us, actually. That our approach when we're facing challenges all starts with our perspective. So it is really about when a challenge does present itself to us, it is about asking ourselves, what is it in me? What is it in me that this challenge is trying to show me? Most of the time, what happens is these challenges, as Allah very perfectly pointed out, they come as an opportunity to show us something that we no longer require, that we need to move ahead from. And the more we can start changing our perspective when we see these challenges, we will completely see these challenges as a beautiful opportunity, as a learning experience, as something that we need to help us to become better, to take us further and further, to align us with our higher purpose. And we'll find that, as Allah pointed out, that they don't affect us in the same way. Because that emotional connection that we felt towards that challenge, where it was more negative or fearful, it's completely transmuted. So beautifully said there, Allah. Thank you for that. So we'd now like to move on to the third question for our webinar today, which is, how can we face challenges while remaining unaffected by them? So handing over to you, Yaroni, first, please. Thank you.
For me, the first thing with that is to release all judgment, because when we accept that we're all on the journey of life, school of life, if you will, then it is understanding that we will all face similar challenges to different degrees for different reasons at different stages of our life. And it is all about understanding that you're not separate from the challenge because we're all sharing the same consciousness. It is just understanding that the level you engage with the challenge will set you apart from whatever experience you're busy having. So it's really unattaching in a way, not detaching. There is a difference. Unattaching emotionally from the situation, going through all the steps we've already mentioned, zooming out, rising above it, and then saying, you know, how else can we do this without identifying with the actual situations that are taking place? It is becoming the observer, because by observing the situation and observing yourself, you actually learn so much more. And that when you then go within, you're better able to seek the answers or a more empowered situation that aligns. And often it means we actually have to take responsibility for what is happening. I've often had clients say to me, well, why must I change and they get to be who they are? That's not fair. And at the same time, we all shift when we're ready to shift. So if you want to move beyond the situation you're in, if you want to break the cycle, so to speak, if you want to transcend the type of experiences you have, then your focus is not to be on others or the situation, but within. And the way to do that is to go into inner stillness, meditation, breathe yourself into neutrality, if that is what it takes. And if you find it's difficult to find a space of neutrality, whether it's in your heart, in your mind, or anywhere in the body might be contracting, is to actually take your attention there and to say, so what is this contraction that's here? Or what is this pain or feeling that's sitting here? What is it here to teach me? I often say, make it even bigger. Let it scream at you even louder. Because in that lies the answer. It might be as simple as, again, I'm not being recognized. So is it somebody else to recognize you, or is it just for you to recognize who you are, what you've come here to be? And when we can just say, okay, I can recognize myself in this situation, the role I've maybe played, and it's for me to maybe forgive or change the outcome because I can. You might even find that everything around you starts shifting because it no longer needs to hold that mirror for you, if you will. And that gives other people permission to shift as well. Now, they may not want to shift. They may stay there for the rest of their lives, but that's not for you to decide or judge or be jury on. And when you just keep on redirecting your awareness within, magic starts happening.
Beautifully said, Yaroni. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'm also feeling a bit lost for words there. I think observing is the key here, as Yaroni mentioned. And our ability to observe starts with our ability to intervene when we are about to go into that autopilot mode. Our ability to observe starts with our breath. So I think absolutely, as you already mentioned, that the more we become aware of ourselves, we work on ourselves, that is what is of utmost importance. And what is happening around us is not really for us to have to control. Thank you for that, Yaroni. I'd now like to hand over to Alla, please. The same question. How can we face challenges while remaining unaffected by them? Thank you.
Thank you, Priya. So how to remain unaffected? It comes with practices. So it will not just happen because of wishful thinking, just by deciding so that, okay, next time I'll be unaffected when this thing happens, because like you said, yeah, when it happens, only after some time I realized that I have already reacted, and then the situation already happened. I already reacted. I already spoke the words I was not supposed to speak. I'm regretting now my action, the words that came out of my mouth. Maybe I'm regretting those, and it's too late. So then I start to reflect, okay, I decided, but when the moment happened, I lost control completely. So how to have that control? That it's like a lifelong control, not just that it happens once, but consistently, I'm able to face it and remain calm and unperturbed, even though there is chaos all around me, and I'm being provoked and I'm being instigated to behave in a specific way. So yeah, it's only requires a lot of practices, and the practice is, yes, inner work. So right now, what is happening, that the body and mind is in disarray, that my emotions are taking over my thought process, and that's why I'm not able to make the most judicious decision in that specific moment. It's like I'm operating on that autopilot. I'm being unconscious of what is happening. It happens automatically. There is this memory that is there in the body, and that's the reaction just happens with that trigger. So I need to bring body and mind in a state of synchronicity, so that emotions are there, thoughts are there, but the emotions are not taking over my thought process. That I'm still able to have clarity of thought in a situation, and that is what is going to make me respond and behave differently to my predisposed inclination, predisposed tendency. So my tendency might be to be reactionary and maybe to shout or to prove my point or speak back at someone. But I remain calm. I remain silent there. I have to behave in a very different way to change those tendencies, to change those inclinations. And there are practices to do that. So the practices, of course, you know, we do at Abhyas, we do our practices here, and you all have mentioned the breath is the key for that. So there are practices that can be done, of course, to bring that body and mind in that state of synchronicity. There are certain principles of life that are to be applied daily to raise that level of awareness. So I need to be way more aware of each and single action that I perform. So we need to work with the body, we need to work with the mind to break these conditioned patterns of our behavior, so that these patterns are broken and now we can see clearly. And so the behavior needs to change there through these practices. So it's an ongoing process, of course. It requires discipline, dedication to working on our own selves. It's not easy. This process is not easy, but it definitely, if we do stay disciplined and we do work on ourselves through these practices, the pragmatic theory, the conscious practices that we do, then definitely we'll see the light of the day, and we'll see that we are able to remain calm, and we will not have this disease like Lina was mentioning. This disease happens because of these reactions in the body. So actually physical health will also improve. Mental health will also improve because we're working on both body and mind. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alla. Yes, definitely. Good to take a moment here just to reflect on these amazing perspectives that we are now speaking of at the moment. I definitely think that I'd actually like to take a moment to just pass on over to Lina and also sincerely apologize. Lina, you're special. You'll be having 2 questions coming to you in one go. And I'm more than happy to let you contribute in the fashion that you feel is fit. Would you like me to repeat the questions for you?
So I'm going to combine the two together.
Wonderful. That sounds amazing.
Being flexible.
Apologies again, Lena. Thank you. Over to you.
So what I would say is loads of ways to do this. Yes, breath and all of that. But for the everyday person, what does that really mean? And I always compare it to that baby falling, when it's learning to walk. Where do you start? Well, that baby keeps going. And the parents are really encouraging and saying, oh, you've fallen, it's okay. It's going to grab the sofa. It's going to grab a chair. It's going to fall. We all have to learn to fall. That is the challenge of life. And when we fall, we've got to learn to pick ourselves up. Now, that strategy could be breath. It could be being aware and telling ourselves, okay, we can look through this. But a lot of the time, people don't know that we even have that option. And it's teaching people that we do have that option. So reminding ourselves, when that baby falls, when we fall, we have to pick ourselves up. And that can be just one encouraging thought after another saying, I can do this. And yes, coming back to your breath is very, very important. And learning other strategies like journaling or moving your body or just doing something that works for you. And that means going on an adventure. That's all it means. We're sometimes so scared of the unknown. And to remind ourselves, if we don't like this, we can do something else. And we can do something else and do something else until we find the right thing. And it does mean going inside to do what is right for us. A lot of the time we ask people, we might even look on Google, but going within, and that just means taking a breath or a couple of deep breaths and just checking in with yourselves. What is the right thing for me? Sometimes it's doing nothing. And sometimes it is practicing mindfulness and finding the thing. Instead of reacting, we are responding, which means we have the ability to respond when we're falling. And we have the ability to pick ourselves up. Because let's face it, nobody's coming to save us. We think the world is going to come and save us, or somebody's going to come and save us. Why do we need to wait for somebody to come and save us? We can do that for ourselves. It's just that we haven't been taught that. We think it's all outside ourselves, what we see, hear, smell, and taste. But when we do find that gift of going inside, and I call it like becoming like the ocean, where there's so much going on around you. There's boats going, there might be a storm, it's raining, there's chaos everywhere, there's fishes swimming, but you, in your moment of taking that breath and becoming still, cultivating some self-compassion, like that baby falling, and you're picking yourself up and you're saying, it's going to be okay, and I'm going to find the right thing for me. When you take that breath, close your eyes. 3 deep breaths is all it takes. That's what I say to my students. 3 deep breaths. You never know what the gift you're going to get in that moment.
Wow, Lena. Again, I am absolutely lost for words here. Yeah, look, I think the only one point I would want to reiterate, as Lena, as Yaroni, and as Allah have mentioned, that it takes commitment, it takes perseverance, and it takes discipline to go within, to observe, to make a choice, a decision about to do something different and to choose something that's right for me, and to let go of something that isn't going to work any longer. So when you think about all of this, does it not change your perspective of what challenges are? So with that, I'd now like to move on to the Q&A. And I have a question here that has come from Daniela. Thank you, Daniela, for this question. So this question is for all three panel members to contribute to. I'm just going to read the question out now. I was wondering if the panel has thoughts on the questions being asked. Is there a purpose to be unaffected by challenges or life experiences? If we are here for a human experience, I would imagine that feeling the effect of emotions is normal and to be expected. I do agree that we can evolve our reactions to challenges, but I'm not sure if I agree that we should live in complete neutrality and be unaffected by life. Very thought-provoking question there. Thank you, Daniela. Over to you, to my lovely three panelists. Let's give approximately 5 minutes for this particular question to respond to. Thank you.
Can I respond so long?
Happy for any of you to go first. Maybe we'll just hand over to Yaroni. We'll let you go first. Yeah, thank you.
This is a really awesome question that Daniela has asked. And it is not about living in neutrality, but it's living within a centered, balanced existence within ourselves. Because we're part of all of consciousness, everything is ebb and flow. And sometimes it's like making music. Sometimes the notes are soft, sometimes they're more intense. It is about creating that flow, the ebb and flow within your life, because we can't live in a complete state of neutrality, but it's a question of where do you spend most of your time and what are you giving your attention to? So some individuals may live in patterns of victim, blame, defense. So they don't, because they live there, they may not easily find the peace and quiet within. Sometimes it is for us in a situation to say, no, you've crossed a boundary and no more. So there may be an energy that comes with that. It doesn't mean it's a negative energy. It doesn't mean you can't ever get angry. There's nothing wrong with anger or any emotion felt. In fact, any emotion fully felt should not last longer than 7 seconds within the body. It is when it persists, when it's still there tomorrow, when you're still thinking about it 5 years later, or you're not willing to forgive the person 10 years later, then you've held on to that energy, and therefore you cannot fully get to a place of neutrality within yourself. And that's where the lesson is for you to bring yourself back into balance. That's certainly my perspective, and I would love to hear what the other panelists say.
Thank you, Yaroni. Ala, would you like to contribute to this one too, please?
It's such an amazing question, and I think it will require more than 2 minutes to speak upon. I don't know how to speak in such a short period of time to answer it. It's a very deep question, actually. I'm very grateful for it. I think after this webinar is finished, I will take time to really go through the question and answer it to myself in more depth. But just for now, what comes into my mind is that what Lina was saying about that ocean and the waves and the storm and the rain and all is happening around us. So if I'm not stable within myself, if I'm not calm within myself, that ocean is gonna swirl me there and I will end up just floating like that leaf in a storm as well. I'll be just floating here and there. Just by the blow of that wind, I'll be taken in all kinds of directions, swayed away by the emotions that I'm experiencing because someone said something, because the situation is unfavorable, because some tragic event has happened and XYZ, right? So it's not to say that we're not to feel these emotions. The emotions are emotions, the thoughts are thoughts. So we are feeling them. but being swirled by them in all directions, where I have no control over my life, and I completely lost my life purpose because I'm at the mercy of these emotions, and my decisions come from these emotions. So the moment the situation triggers me from the outside and I become that leaf in the storm, then my life has become again at the mercy of whatever is happening on the outside. Then I'm completely not in control of myself. So here, this neutrality part, what I want to say is that it is more about being calm within ourselves. So I might experience anger, but I'm not anger. Yeah. So I might experience frustration. Someone is lampooning at me and maybe trying to sabotage my image and trying to kind of put sticks in my wheels all the time. But can I be calm still? Is it my choice? Do I have to be instigated? Do I have to be affected by whatever someone else is doing? Do I have to be at the mercy of someone else's actions? So that's a choice of mine, right? So I might choose not to be affected because I want to preserve my mental and physical health, like Lina was saying, yeah? I might have done it so many times that I got affected and I've experienced enough. So you might say, I had enough. I had enough. I don't want to keep going like this. So then I have to find that stillness within. I have to find that calmness within. So the storm is the storm. It'll keep happening. Affairs will keep happening that are not in my control, but it is my choice to keep myself in that neutral space where I'm neither elated nor depressed. I'm just centered within. I'm grounded within myself. Thank you.
Thanks, Alla. And Lina, over to you, please, as well.
A very long time ago, one of my students said, and this thing about being neutral is, what if I'm so quiet, my life is boring? And I said, what if you're so quiet and you get to decide how you want to respond to any situation? Because life is not a straight road, and we're going to feel anger, and we're going to feel frustrated, and we're going to feel elated, and we're going to feel joy. That's what it means to be human. We are going to feel emotions, but it's what we do with those emotions in that moment. And like Yaroni said, 7 seconds. Don't even let that emotion get further than your nose. And when you start practicing that, you laugh at yourself and like, did I really get angry at that before? And you're like, yeah, I did. And that's okay. So what if I did? So what if I'm angry? So what if I'm frustrated right now? What am I going to do with that frustration? You can turn it into something positive, or you can let it run you like Alla said, like the leaf when the storm hits, you're like everywhere. You get to decide. And I think a lot of people don't know that you get to decide. And it's really that simple. We don't need to beat ourselves up. Yes, we did react like that. Yes, we did do that. Okay, I'm not doing that anymore. It's as simple as that. We make it so hard and so complicated that we think, hang on a minute, let me just take a breath. No, I'm gonna do this differently. Yes, I did do it like that. No, not anymore, because I'm not wasting my energy anymore. Because everything is energy, and it starts with a thought, and our feelings are just feedback telling us, oh, I'm having this thought that doesn't work for me anymore, and I'm just choosing to respond to it differently. And I think life becomes beautiful when you make it that simple. So having a feeling, bad or good, there's nothing wrong with it. It's how you respond to it. And we shouldn't stop feeling bad just because it's bad. It's what you do with it. Like Yaroni said, 7 seconds, not even 7 seconds. If you do, you could just say, oh, look at me, I'm angry, or look at me, I'm frustrated. I don't need to stay there. I'm going to do it differently.
Beautifully said, Lina. Beautifully said. So I hope that answers your question, Daniela. I'm very grateful that you asked this question as well. Very conscious of time. So Yes, I've got a comment here as well that's come through that yes, this is resonating and such good timing. I'm so grateful for the practical tips here. Please keep them coming. This is from Stephanie. Thank you, Stephanie. Beautiful, really good to hear. So I guess I just wanted to kind of close our webinar for today by just mentioning that our lovely panelists are all available on LinkedIn. And I do encourage you all to stay in touch with them. So very shortly on the screen, you will be able to see their LinkedIn contact details. If you are not able to, that's totally okay. What I would say for you is to definitely follow our page, Abhyas, which is available on LinkedIn. We are also on Facebook and we are also on Instagram. And all right, that's fantastic. So we can see all of our panelists right there. I'm also going to pop into our chat a link to our listing of webinars that are on our YouTube channel. I would highly, highly recommend that all of you lovely members who have joined us here today, please do check out our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. All of our webinars are recorded there. And I think it's a really wonderful opportunity to actually go back and listen to these recordings and reflect and spend some time, as our panel members mentioned today, spend some time introspecting, reflecting on what you're seeing happening within and continuing with this daily practice to be more observant, to be in a state of more responsiveness rather than reactiveness. So I just want to close by just mentioning a very few quick things. Here at Abhyas Mauritius, we host a range of different events, but the most exciting thing I want to mention to you right now is we are launching our corporate teacher training program in February. I myself graduated from that training last year, and a lot of the concepts that you are hearing today in our webinar and in all of our webinars to come up until May, you will be interested to know a lot more about what these teacher trainings are to offer. So if you are interested, please do check us out on LinkedIn, also our website at www.abhyas.mu. I'd like to also just mention here that our webinar today, Facing Challenges as Is, has been proudly hosted by Abhyas. Our next webinar is called Rebranding with Generation Z, a very interesting topic. And I'd just like to end our webinar today with just a final quote by our founder. The highest peak of one's performance can only be achieved through synchronization of body and mind. All right, thank you so much, everyone. Wherever you are dialing in from, I'm wishing you a really pleasant day, and I'll see you again next time. Take care. Bye for now.